If you think money is the thing, it's not. Money is just a medium used for exchange. The value is in an asset, right? An asset has value, especially one that produces income. That is an asset. That is where value is. If you take your money and you exchange it for an asset, it could be real estate, it could be stocks, could be whatever, dividend, something that pays you. Now that's where the value is.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Jim Huntzicker. He's a mindset strategist, speaker, and author of Mindset Breakthrough. He helps high-performing entrepreneurs and achievers destroy internal resistance, rewire lifelong patterns, and create success that's deeply aligned. So, Jim, I mean, you've already shared with me some really interesting things. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Can we start with a bit about you, your background, kind of what got you to where you are today? I think, you shared with me that a lot of what you do is based around, people knowing their why or kind of their understanding. So tell me a little bit about your background, what got you to where you are, and then we'll take it from there.
For sure. Yeah, no, a lot of the people I work with we start with, I say, what do you want? And it's because they're in trouble later in life because they never had a purpose. They were chasing money and missing the point, just like I was. And so for me, how I got here was I was in the real estate business for 17 years. I would call myself a real estate entrepreneur. I did several different businesses, all in the real estate investing, creating online info products. But my thing was I kept walking away from profitable businesses. Like, it wasn't like they started going bad. I'm like, oh, okay, it's time to wrap this business up. Like, they were still profitable and I just walked away. I didn't sell the list. I didn't sell the business. I could have done any of that. And I didn't do any of it. I talk fast and my mind goes fast. You'll see from this, this interview. And so I always told myself that, I'm bored. I just got to do the next thing, right? I just got to do the next thing. Now, I've been married for 20 years and I have 2 teenage kids. And I've been with my wife for 22 years. And so what I realized when walking away from these businesses, the 7th business, by the way, it was profitable until it wasn't. And for me, that was like God. And if God's not your thing, the universe, that was like, for me, God saying, hey, you weren't paying attention on the 6 businesses. So the 7th one, I'm going to take your money away and I'm going to make sure I have your attention now. And I took what ended up being 2 years off to do some soul searching and figure out what was happening. And what I realized is that I had some limiting beliefs and I knew about limiting beliefs. Like, I've been at Tony Robbins and I love Tony, like, don't get me wrong, but I could never get to my limiting beliefs at his thing. He was always like, all right, write down your limiting beliefs. Let's break through them. And I'm like, I don't know what they are. And so I couldn't get to them ever. Like, I did a lot of good with Tony. I lost 60 pounds. I quit drinking in 2011. Like, lots of good came from Tony Robbins events, but my limiting beliefs I couldn't get to. So when I took 2 years off, this is how I got here, is I realized that one of my limiting beliefs, my core limiting belief, which is like the one that's screwing up your life the most. There's surface level ones, super easy to get rid of. I'll give you guys a framework later on. You can write it on a piece of paper and do that, anytime you want. Those are the surface level ones, and how to discover them too, because that was part of my problem. I couldn't figure out how to discover them. But what I realized is that from growing up, I grew up really poor until we worked, but we were homeless at 4. We had to move in with my grandparents. My family of 4 moved into one of their bedrooms in their 2-bedroom house. And my parents drank a lot. My father drove limos and laid concrete back then, but he quit drinking. And by the time I was 10, so homeless at 4, by the time I was 10, he owned multiple gas stations and a real estate office. But my parents always fought. They fought when there was no money, about money. And when we did have money, they fought about that too. So money was always problems in my life growing up. And I didn't realize when I was walking away from these businesses, what I was doing subconsciously was protecting my wife and my kids, because I believed that money caused problems and caused parents to fight and families to break up, because my parents got divorced when I was 12 and they never stopped fighting the whole time they were together. So what I believed is that money caused parents to fight and families to break up. Money causes problems. That's what all that was. And so I was walking away from all these businesses. But here's the great part, because you could always find good if you're looking for it, is that taught me money is easy to make. All those different businesses I kept going to were always profitable. I just walked away from them. And so if you hear me say money is easy to make, and you're like, no, you got to work hard or money's hard, then you have a limiting belief buried there that tells you money has to be hard, because it's not. But that is in a nutshell how I got here. And so when I went back into do I go back into real estate? Do I start selling real estate as an agent again? Because I was in the top 1% of agents nationally. I just walked away from that. But I had all this newfound information about how to discover limiting beliefs, how to change them, and how to create, meaning in your life and give your life purpose. And so I decided to start working with entrepreneurs. And so that's how I got here.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing so much openly. And I think there's a lot of real impactful things to touch on. One thing that you said that really resonates with me in relation to Tony Robbins, and he's like, what are your limiting beliefs? And I would say, even you can expand that to I asked the name of this podcast, what is your why? I think you said that you ask people, what do you want? I've heard people, ask that very similar question, like, what does your ideal day look like? How would you, if you could have the perfect life, what does it look? And I think that we don't know. Like, those are some of the hardest questions. It's like, I'm still not sure I could tell you like what a perfect life looks like or what a perfect day looks like, because, one, I'm not sure it looks the same every day, but like, those are hard questions. I rediscover probably limiting beliefs all the time. Like, I think that there's knowing the answers to those really kind of abstract questions can be very hard. And I think some of the real importance of having coaches like yourself, like that, is to help people actually answer those questions that maybe if you hear them asked in a an event like a Tony Robbins event or a conference or something like that, and you're like, yeah, what is my ideal life? What do I want? And you're like, I'm not really sure, and like let it go past. But you have to, like, those are things to actually sit in and try and figure out. Otherwise, there's no direction.
That's why you have to stop, right? But we do it all the time with stuff we don't understand or makes us uncomfortable. We shut it out, right? We just say, oh, no, I don't know, and then you move on and you never get back to it. And like with a lot of the high achievers I work with they're screwing up their lives. Like, they start doing drugs. Like, this is guys that are super successful in their 40s, like built massive businesses, but all they were focused on was the money. And then their marriage is falling apart, or their health is falling apart, or they're way overweight, or they're doing drugs. And so like all of this stuff is stuff I deal with. And all of it's the same thing though. It all comes back to they don't have direction. They were after money. They were missing the point of life. They got all this money and now they're miserable. They're unfulfilled. And so, Tony Robbins has a great quote, is success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And it's so true, right? Because like, that's what all my clients, that's what the problem is. There is no fulfillment. They have this success on paper because it's financial. So that's that to them, that's what success was, because that's how they grew up. Somebody taught them, money is success. And what they realize is money is not success. Money can be a byproduct. We need money, and money's important. But if you're focused on money, you're going to end up miserable when you get it. And so you got to have purpose in your life. You got to have a why. And so that's where I start. And it's funny you say the perfect day exercise is how I get them out. I say, look, you could be in Colorado for breakfast and Switzerland for lunch. This is not like a realistic day, but what would make you happy on a given day? Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want your day to look like? Do you want to have massages in the afternoon and massage? Do you want to work out? What do you want? Do you want a cold plunge? Do you want, like, it doesn't matter. You can go in a float tank. You can go you can do 30 things in one day. What do you want to do? And so that gets the creative juices flowing. And then we go into what's called a soul purpose exercise. Like, soul, S-O-U-L, like, what is the purpose of your soul on earth? Like, what is this purpose for you to be here? And that is some of the hardest, deepest stuff that I will go through. And we do it at the beginning because it's the most important stuff, because the reason their life is imploding, the reason they're sabotaging their life is because they don't know the why. They don't have a why. They don't have a meaning. There's nothing behind where they're going. They have no direction. They wake up and it's about money, and money is not the answer.
Are you planning a remodel or construction project? Overwhelmed by the process? Over budget? Extended timelines? Strained relationships? We are all too familiar. At Lark Construction Services, we help homeowners and business owners take control of their construction journey, from reviewing bids and contracts to catching red flags before they become costly mistakes. Our Clarity Audit is a one-on-one expert review of your plans, estimates, or current progress, giving you the peace of mind and a defined action plan to move forward with confidence. Don't let confusion lead to costly errors. Visit larkconstruction.com and schedule your free call today. Lark Construction Services, saving you time, money, and stress.
Yeah, and you touched on that sort of mindset around money that comes from when we're kids, and I think it's pretty well studied, pretty well proven that most people have very, very limited, if any, financial education. They don't have a good relationship with money, and it gets passed down generation to generation. And the things that we, take from our childhood stick with us in, ultimately forever, even though we may not.
Well, until you change it, and we could
right.
talk about that, but most people never do. So to your point, you're right. Most people never change them.
Yeah, and you have to actively try to change it, and it is hard. I had similar, growing up to you, similar experiences. We didn't have money. Parents fought about money. They ultimately got divorced. We lived with my grandparents. Like all of those things, and it's now I'm 50, and I still sort of rolls off my tongue, but I'm like, I know how to be poor. And it's like, that's almost it's not what I want, but it's almost a more comfortable acceptance.
It's not more. It is comfortable. That's comfort to you. We get addicted to negative emotions, and we get addicted to scarcity because it's what's comfortable, even though it's what we tell ourselves we don't like. Like people are like, well, I say affirmations like I'm abundant, I'm wealthy, whatever. But when you just say it out there, if it's not your core belief, if your core belief is money's hard to make and scarcity is what's comfortable, if that's what's inside your subconscious, then that's what you need to override. Is these limiting patterns or these limiting beliefs you have, and the great part is you decided to believe that. What the craziest thing is, you decided to believe it when you were 8 or 7 or 5. So think about like the mindset you had as a 5-year-old, and you're deciding to believe stuff about money. Like it's crazy, and we carry that into adulthood, and we in our adult mind tries to make that true because we've never. Like for me about money causes problems. And also like, so when you grew up poor, like I did, and it sounds like you did, when you watch TV, a lot of the TV shows, and that's still true today, but like a lot of the TV shows from us growing up, MASH, Gilligan's Island, whatever, the people that you liked on the show were living in scarcity. So you related to them. They were the poor people, and the wealthy people on the shows were jerks. They were not nice, and they weren't good to the poor people. So you didn't like them. So automatically, so depending how you grew up, you probably had a scarcity from this is passed down from generations, and then you watch TV shows where you don't like the wealthy people. And so like for me, like I would see like where I live, there's a lot of nice cars, and so I used to see, this is even 5-6 years ago, I would see a Range Rover or a Rolls Royce, and I'd be like, rich asshole. Like automatically, like in my experience, all of the wealthy people I personally know are incredibly, gracious and generous people. And so why would my mind automatically go to rich jerk? Like why does that? Because I had a subconscious belief that rich people are jerks. So while I didn't believe that anymore, and my experience wasn't that, my subconscious didn't know that yet. So I had to go through a process to change that. And so now I see a Range Rover, Rolls Royce, or another high-end car, and I automatically say, look at all the abundance in the world. It doesn't go to scarcity anymore, but it did my whole life. For 40 years. It went to rich. So here I am trying to get wealthy, right? Except I don't like wealthy people. So you're never going to allow yourself to become somebody you don't like. Yeah. It's crazy, but it's true. Like you see the reality of that, right? And so this all goes back to decisions you made to believe things before you were 8. Like that's the crazy thing. So the surface level limiting beliefs are easy to change. Like but like here's the core limiting belief. Like mine was about money. It sounds like yours probably is too. And this is something you got to dig deep. And after I explain this, I'll show you guys how to find your limiting belief, because it's super easy. And I don't know why it took me so long to find it, because it is so easy. But the the core limiting belief, the one that's screwing up, that's causing the most problems in your life for many people, 80% of people, it's about money. And even for the 20% that they figure out money or they rebel, because 80% end up with the money beliefs they had from growing up. But some people rebel and they say, I'm not going to be like you. And they do the opposite, right? Like you see these people come out of like rough environments, they, make millions and millions.
Right.
They rebelled. But for 80%, it's about money. And so the core limiting belief, the reason it's so hard to get rid of is because it's anchored in by resentment. And so this was like so profound for me to learn, because I was like, wait, what? And even if you're friends with your parents today, even if you loved your parents today, even if they passed away and you can't talk to them anymore, this is not about how you feel about them today as an adult. It is about how you felt about them when you were 7 or 6 or 4. Like for me, it was just constant fighting. My room was next to theirs. They fought. I mean, there was never like physical abuse, but man, these fights were, crazy screaming, yelling at each other. And it's what I heard. So I assumed, with money, what my, 3-year-old and even if you don't remember stuff from when you were 1, 6 months, most people don't. All that stuff gets stored in your subconscious. We know from modern hypnosis, not like stage hypnosis, but modern true hypnosis, NLP style hypnosis, they can go back and pull out memories from when you were 6, 1, even if you don't consciously remember them. So all that stuff you heard growing up implants. And so, and then it being anchored by resentment. This is the part, and especially most guys are like when we get to this part, they're like, wait, what? Like you got to deal with resentment, and you're probably going to cry. So you might want to do this without me on the Zoom call here, because I'm fine with you crying in front of me, but you might not be at first, at least, because like once you really dig into these resentments, like mine were because I love my parents today, but my resentments were because they fought. They allowed me to see these fights. They didn't teach me about money. They fought about money in front of me. They created these beliefs, and so I had resentments to there. And here, there's no judgment. They were doing the best they could with the cards they were dealt, right? So this is not about judgment, because their parents passed it down to them. Their parents passed it down to them. So this is not a judgment thing. This is not a blame thing. This is hey, let's just repair what's happened, because they were doing the best they could with the cards they were dealt, just like you are. But the resentment, it being anchored by resentment, the core limiting belief is generally, it's like if your parents raised you or whoever your primary influences were, but let's just say it was your parents, your core limiting belief is generally a marriage of their limiting beliefs together. And it's what they allowed you to hear when you were a kid. And so it's so hard to get this because most people don't want to deal with the resentment, right? They're like, oh, let's push it away, push it away, push it away. So here's how you find limiting beliefs. Like it's so easy, right? We have powerful states of being and primal states of being. We're in one or the other at any time, and we're never in both at the same time. Meaning powerful, you feel good, confident, clear, resourceful. Or when you're primal, that's when your negative states. You got your anxiety, stress, fear. So anytime you feel anxiety, stress, or fear, stop, think about your thoughts. There's a limiting belief buried there, that if you write down the thoughts you're thinking right now, whether it's about money, whether it's being in traffic, somebody cut you off, whatever the negative, whenever you immediately go into anger, stress, fear, anxiety, anything like that, stop. Think about what your thoughts are. Write them down, because that's where your limiting beliefs are buried. And that's where your core limiting belief is buried. That takes a little more digging to usually figure out. But once you start realizing, like, okay, I'm stressed. What am I thinking? Why did I go stress right away? Why did I go to anxiety right away? Why did I go to fear right away? Right? Because that is how you find a limiting belief. And once I heard that, it was like this epiphany. I'm like, holy crap. And I started like writing, constantly, like, because I was stressful a lot. I was fearful a lot. I had anxiety a lot. And once you start writing this down, that's how you could change it, right? You can't change it until you become aware of it. And so I was never aware of my limiting beliefs. I knew they existed. I heard the term before, but until about 5 years ago, I started studying more and more and more. And I went back to people from the turn of the century, from the late 1800s, early 1900s. That's where I found the best information that for me was the most relatable and easy to understand. And that's where I wrote a book, Mindset Breakthrough. It's right behind me. And it's just frameworks. It's a 66-page book, and all it is of course, there's some explanation, but it It's just frameworks of how to let go of resentments, how to find, limiting beliefs, like when you go primal, how to get, how to down-regulate your nervous system so you can get back to a powerful state quickly, right? And it's just, a lot of times it's moving your body, it's taking deep breaths. It's, there's so many different ways to bring yourself back to a powerful state, but no, every time you go primal, there's a limiting belief buried there. And so, a lot of people go primal and they stay there for days, weeks, months, right? Like it becomes your, are you familiar with Joe Dispenza? Super powerful.
I don't think I am, actually.
Well, Joe Dispenza, I can't even get into what he does on this because it's crazy. But one of the things he says is, your personality creates your personal reality, meaning who you are creates everything you see, because we see life through like this 88% filtered reality, meaning neuroscience tells us 88% of what's happening around us gets filtered out because our subconscious beliefs and patterns only allow us to see about 12% of conscious reality, like because of what we believe, right? So like if you tell yourself all the time, I don't have time to work out, I don't have time to work out, I don't have time to work out. So you're not going to see opportunities like taking the stairs or parking in the back of a parking lot to get some extra steps in to burn a little extra weight because you told yourself you don't have time. So your subconscious is never going to see that. So we're only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. This is everybody, right? So you got to think of the thoughts you have and what you tell yourself, because thoughts aren't neutral. They're commands to your subconscious. It's super powerful, right? Like when you think about it like that, you say, oh, wait, huh? And it's telling your subconscious what you want. Like I am statements, like I am not this, I am not whatever, I am not somebody who works out, I am not somebody. When you say that out to the world, your subconscious says, okay, I'll make sure that's true. And the people say, well, what am I supposed to say? Like all you say is, let's just say you're not good with money, you're not good at reading, whatever it is. So you don't say I'm not good with money. You say I'm learning to get better. I'm improving my financial literacy every day because I'm learning more. Or I'm like you're not good with reading. I'm working on becoming a better reader. Not I'm not a good reader, because that's what your subconscious tells you. Then every time you go to pick up a book, you're not a good reader, and it makes that true, right? So we're only as good as the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah. It's easy to, I think, for people to, I don't know, brush some of that stuff off and say, oh, that won't work. It's not that simple. I can't just talk myself into feeling, but it's actually incredibly powerful. And for people listening, I was one of those people that thought those, trying to change the way I think or just the words I say to myself would matter. And I can tell you it absolutely matters. And it works, and it's not perfect, but it does help a lot. You mentioned something about the resentment, and that's really resonated with me, because I don't want to spend time being angry or resentful about things that happened when I'm a kid. Like I just it's like it's not worth it. I don't see a whole lot of value in it, and I think but the point that you made is just such a good one. Like we may not want to, but it might still be there, and it doesn't have to be, because it feels like it has to be a judgment. But you're absolutely right. Like our parents, our caretakers, it did what they did. They did with the best what they could in that time, and it's like all we can do is look to try and improve and grow and sort of maybe do better with each generation. But I think that kind of what you talked about there is a very real I don't know, just process in there is getting past that.
Well, it's not like you have to sit with it like forever. It's that like that you like part of the process is to feel it, right? Because you've been avoiding it for so long that it's just gotten bigger and bigger, and so you have to process it and feel it before you let it go, and for 5 minutes, and then you deal, and then you let it go. And so like holding on to a resentment is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you, right? And so because people are like, oh, they did this to me. I'm not letting them off the hook. You're not letting them off the hook. You're letting yourself off the hook. Holding on to resentment is poisoning you. It's poisoning your progress. It's getting in the way. It's causing problems in your life. You're not letting them off the hook. You're letting yourself off because you're holding on to this and it's eating you up inside, right? So like the feeling at part of the process of letting it go is 5 minutes. Like that's it. You sit with it, and you probably, depending on what it is, you might cry because you need to feel it. But then you're going to do a cost benefit analysis, and it's never going to benefit you to hold on to it. And then you're going to reframe it. You're going to give it a new meaning. Because Jason, think about this: as why do we give anything meanings that don't serve us as humans? We do it all the time, though. Like something happens to us, we sign a meeting that makes us mad or angry, or even in death, even in terrible stuff that happens. Like, yeah, it sucks. Like sit with it for a minute. Like, let it suck, but then give it a meaning that serves you. Because if you don't, it's going to just drag you down. Like no matter what it is. And so, like, part of my work is teaching people gratitude. Like if you read what gratitude is, like, yes, I am grateful for this. I am, but it's going through motions. Like I teach people how to feel grateful, like in your chest, like you got to actually feel grateful, and for the things that you don't like also, not just for the things you do, right? Like part of my first thing I do every morning is, for me, I do a gratitude journal. I started for me, it's with God, right? So I write, "Dear Father, thank you for," and I write today. And the second thing I write is a shitty thing that happened to me that good came out of. Right. So I'm thankful that I woke up today and I'm here. And the next thing I do is a negative event that happened in my life recently that I found good in, which if you could find good in anything if you're looking for it. And if you're looking for bad, you'll find that too. Right. But and then I go in my wife, my kids, my dog, stuff like the stuff that I love, my house, my cars, whatever. But the first thing is today, and the second thing is a negative event. And so if you can't be grateful for where you are right now, no matter where that is, even if it's a position you don't want to be in, because you're only as good as your thoughts. So this is, you were talking about this earlier about how important thoughts are. Like you said, you didn't used to think so, and now you do. You're exactly where you think you should be, right? Wherever you are in life is where you believe you should be. Because it's all you think. Like part of the process of me working with people is restoring self-love. Because it's not like you're not doing what you like. If you have a desire to get somewhere, to do something, a financial goal, a business goal, a relationship goal, whatever, the reason you're not there is because of the stories you tell yourself, the resistance you have to the desire you want, right? And so resistance is limiting beliefs, it's resentments, it's your core limiting belief, and then it's allowing yourself to love yourself again. And everybody's got that issue where they don't think that they're worthy. Right? Like everybody deals with this, even super successful people. Like, how do you think people are worth 30, 40, $300 million and go bankrupt? Right? Is because they were never comfortable with the money. So they find ways to get rid of it, whether it's gambling, making bad investments, like the first thing that like most athletes, especially when they come in at like 18 years old, they should be run through a financial literacy course, right? Like that should be an absolute prerequisite for all young athletes, because the reason so many of them go bankrupt as soon as they stop having income is because they never learned financial literacy, and their comfort, what they were comfortable with, what we talked about earlier, was scarcity. They grew up poor. That's what they know. That's where their comfort zone is. Like being in debt. It's crazy. People are more comfortable being in debt than like they say they want to have abundance, but they've been in debt their whole adult life. And so that's actually where they're comfortable. It's the craziest thing, but it's true. We stay where we're comfortable, even if it's where we say we don't want to go, because it's familiar, right? And so to get out of that, you need to get comfortable with change. And you have to change your belief structure. So here's one way, right? Like surface level limiting beliefs. Like this is one of the most profound things I found for surface level limiting beliefs. And you can do this wherever you are. You take a piece of paper and draw 2 lines down it, create 3 columns. In the left column, you write your existing limiting belief, the old limiting belief that you had. And then in the middle column, you write the new evidence of a new empowering decision. So let's just say you were bad with money. I'm not good with money. It could just be the opposite. You don't have to overthink this. Like, I am good with money. And then in the third column on the right, you write evidence of that. Because if you look for evidence that you are good with money, you'll find it all over the place. Even if it's super small, a micro example, you need to start showing your subconscious there's evidence. And here's the kicker, is then you take your voice notes in your phone and you record the second and third column, the new empowering decision and the evidence, and you read it in there. And then you listen to it 3 times a day. It's only going to be a minute or 2. and you're reprogramming your subconscious with your own voice. Like, it's so powerful. I did it with myself. That's how I swapped the script in my head when I saw a nice car from Rich Jerk to look at all the abundance in the world. That's how I did it. And here's another really powerful tool. You don't even have to write down, but this will change your life. And anybody listening can benefit from this, is labeling your thoughts as thoughts and facts. Because we all get messed up thoughts. Like, that's like, our thoughts aren't our own. That's a different story for another time, but our thoughts aren't our own. And so they just keep coming in. They keep coming in. And so you think they're in your mind, but they're coming from somewhere else, from the universe, from God, wherever. They're not your thoughts. That's why they just keep coming. And it's how you process them. And it's the stories you tell yourself about the thoughts. But if you get a messed up thought you don't like, you say, oh, that's a thought. I don't even believe that. What I do believe is this. It's just all in your head. And after about 20 to 25 times that messed up thought coming in, it could be in one day, because we get so many thoughts in one day. It could be in a couple days. It could be in a couple weeks. But every time you get that thought, if you override it, like, that's a thought. I don't believe that. That's not true. What I do believe is this. And when a thought comes in, oh, that's a fact. I do believe that thought. That's good. Store that in the fact column. When you start doing this, it changes your entire life. Because when you get a negative thought you don't like, and you're mad you even got the thought, you don't punish yourself anymore. You don't beat yourself up, because they're not your thoughts. You just say, oh, it's a weird thought. I don't like that thought. I don't believe it. And eventually your subconscious overrides that thought as soon as it comes in. Be like, oh, nope, this is what I believe. Now, you get thousands of messed up thoughts. So this is not like a one and done thing. And none of this is one and done. Because even when you clear your subconscious, your beliefs, and you change, you're going to have another one and another one and another one. So this is not perfection. It's progress, right? The goal is progress, not perfection. You just keep doing the best you can and always looking for the good. When you look for bad all the time, which is what a lot of people are programmed to do, you're going to find it. It's everywhere. But if you look for the good, you'll find that too. So like I said earlier, we're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. Make sure the stories you tell yourselves count. And they give good meaning to your life. They make you want to do better in the world. Like why would you give a meaning to anything that drags you down every time you think about it? Because we all know somebody who's like a Debbie Downer, right? Every time you see them, they're like, oh, this is bad. And like, most of us have somebody in our lives that they're always focused on the bad, right? And you'll always find it. And when you're around people like that, guess what you're going to do? You're going to start focusing on the bad too. So you got to, well, one, keep your circle tight in people that are positive. Like, and this is my wife. This is something I learned from her. She always has been able to look at the positive in everything. Always. Like, no matter what it is, she teaches kids. She stayed home with our kids, but now she's back teaching again. And her ability to see good in every little kid, no matter what, because they're just kids, is unbelievable. Like in all people, in all things, in all events, like, she always has looked for the good. It's like so powerful. And I came from, my mom was somebody who focused on the bad. Always doomsday, always negative, always the worst, always looking for the bad. Like a good thing will come up. Like, even today, my mom, God love her, will talk about a good situation and she will find the bad in it. Like, she'll be like, well, what about that? Like, come on, Ma. Like, pay attention. Like, we're looking for the good. We're not looking for the bad, but she's she's almost 80. She's been so hardwired that all she looks for is the bad. She can't see the good in things. It's crazy, but that's how bad it can get if you don't control it. So you don't have unlimited time to fix this, right? Like, if you're 50, 60, you still have time. But if you're in your 80s, you can change it. It's going to be a lot harder. But it's all you have to do is override the thoughts. Every time you get a thought you don't like, just say, that's a thought. I don't like it. That's a thought. That I don't believe that. That what I do believe is this. And eventually your subconscious filter will update. And so you just got to do this over and over and over again until it changes. And then every thought that comes up, and that alone will change your life. Labeling thoughts as thoughts and facts will change your life.
Yeah. It's that's all so powerful. It's a fascinating thing to really like dive into conceptually, but also, just like I said, like, starting to do it with yourself. And I think, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts on this are, but do you suggest people start small, or, we're going to change everything? Or how do you kind of imagine people? I mean, you coach people, like, where should someone start who hears this and they're like, okay, if I allow myself to buy into some of what, Jim's saying, is what can I do to begin, I guess? What can I do to start that ball rolling?
First of all, what I'll say about this is faith and fear are both made up. Like, that's super powerful when you think about it, because you can't see either of them. Fear is only in your head. So is faith, right? So like when you say like it's so perfect for you to say, like, if you're going to buy into what Jim says, if you're going to buy into what I say, that means you're looking for the good, right? Like if you're listening to what I say right now and you're like, oh, this guy is annoying, you're primal, right?
Yeah.
You have limiting beliefs that are stopping you, getting you away from letting good in your life. And if you're in the positive side of things, you're like, oh, this is incredible. Like you're open-minded to this. And that means you've probably been beat down on a journey. You have some awareness of what I'm talking about, and you're ready for more, and you're looking for the good. But if you're looking for the bad, you'll always find that, right? And so what I'd start with is saying, start looking for the good in everything, because you'll always find it, right? And start paying attention to when you go primal. That is that's where your thoughts are. When your thoughts are primal, that's where your limiting beliefs are buried. And start writing down the thoughts you have when you go primal. When you go stress, fear, anxiety, anything that brings you down. Start paying attention to your thoughts and start writing them down. And then use the decision director that I told you, drawing the two columns. That's how you get rid of surface level limiting beliefs. And then you get a little deeper, the core limiting belief. You got, like this, we're not going to have time to get into it on this call here, but if you get my book, you can get my book on Amazon, Mindset Breakthrough. You can get it on my website for free. If you go to jimhuntzicker.com, you can download the PDF for free. Some people were like, do you have it in a paperback? So I had the book made because people wanted it in paperback to read it like in their hands. But originally it was a free download, and it's only $11 on Amazon. And that walks you through the core program. And the core program is the one that's messing with your life the most. And, paying attention to your surface level limiting beliefs is a great place to start, because then you'll start becoming more aware. Oh, I'm primal. Let me pay attention to my thoughts. And eventually what you'll realize is when you start paying attention to your thoughts, there's going to be a pattern. And when you follow that pattern, meaning like, with money, most people have major, major money issues. Jason, you said it earlier, and you're 100% correct. Most people have major, major money issues. Only a very small percentage of people were taught properly about money growing up. And it wasn't the majority of America, because, the 1%, is the people that teach their kids about what money really is. And money is just a tool, right? It's a medium used for exchange. If you think of money as anything else, if you think money is the thing, it's not. Money is just a medium used for exchange. The value is in an asset, right? An asset has value, especially one that produces income. That is an asset. That is where value is. If you take your money and you exchange it for an asset, it could be real estate, it could be stocks, could be whatever, dividend, something that pays you. Now that's where the value is. There's no value in money. In fact, if you look at studies from how much money was worth in 2010 to what it's worth now, it's worth 50% less, 50. So if you just had money in your bank account from 2010 and that money's still there now, it's worth 50% less. You have an automatic hole in your bucket due to inflation, and not just the crazy inflation we saw in the last few years. Like, that would happen anyway, right? Like, it would, maybe not 50%, but it would automatically go down. But if you put that in the stock market, even just like an index fund or something easy, I'm by far not an expert. There's plenty of books out there that'll teach you about this stuff, but the index fund beats most places you're going to put your money, and you don't have to think about it, right? And you maybe make 5%, 8% on your money a year, but then it's compounding interest, meaning that 5% you make, now it's part of your principal, and you're making more money on that. Like you just got to look into, like, this was not stuff I was taught. I had to go learn all of this. Like, my parents didn't know about money. They couldn't teach me about money because they didn't know about money. Right. And I didn't go to college, right? Like, I just went straight into being an entrepreneur. And so I didn't realize till I was in my 30s, like, wait, I don't know anything about money. Like, I didn't understand it. Like, I never thought about it. I'm very rapid. I just was go. I started making money. Great. Go. And I never learned about money. So what you'll realize when you start paying attention to your thoughts when you go negative is a lot of people have money once. Not everybody, but that's where your core limiting belief is buried in your thoughts that are negative. You'll see a pattern, and that's how you discover. And then when you really think about it, when you think about the resentments you hold to your parents, or to whoever raised you, whoever your primary influences were, like what you saw prior to 8 years old, right? Like, that's where your resentments are buried, and that's where you have to let them go. In order for you to get this, because otherwise your core limiting belief will always be haunting you. You'll never be able to get rid of it because it's anchored in by resentments. And this is something like I had to study and figure. And like, there's a guy, David Baer. He's been around for about 10, 12 years. He has a podcast and a book called A Changed Mind. He's one of the people that after, I went back to the early 1900s. I like, all right, this is like unbelievable stuff I'm learning. And I read his book and I saw some of his stuff. He takes complex information and distills it down into very easy to understand information. And so he was one of the guys that helped distill this and like teach me like they're tied by resentments. And I was like, and I understood it on some level from what I had been studying, but it wasn't until I got to a video of his that I was like, holy crap. Like it just, I had so much information already. It just instantly clicked. And when I went through the process, it was like this weight was lifted that I didn't even know I had. It was so amazing. And I've done this for like, even for my wife. She had the same thing. She grew up in scarcity. Parents had money, they had jobs, but they grew up in extreme scarcity. So they carried that into how they raised their kids. Like they didn't live, they weren't poor, but they lived like they were. And so my wife had all these resentments, and her mom's one of her best friends today. So she's like, she didn't realize you could still hold resentments against your mom, somebody you're so close to today. And so once we had a tiff. We get along really well, but we had a tiff one day, and I was like, all right, I'm going to crack this open. And so I knew we've been together 22 years. I knew the buttons to push. And she was like all this stuff about growing up came out, and it was like over and over and over. And she was just like I've never seen her cry. And it was so amazing because like I could tell afterwards, like this weight had been lifted. She didn't even know she had, like she didn't know she was holding on to it. So you don't know like that, like most of us aren't like consciously like, oh, let me hold on to these resentments. You've been pushing them away for so long that they're so far, like they're in, but here's the thing, while they're so far away, they've also gotten so big. It's almost like when you think about it, like it's so hard to deal with, but when you force yourself to deal with it and just because you're trying not to experience the pain, that's what you're doing, but you need to experience the pain. And when you allow that pain to move through you, and I literally go like this, like, how do you let it pass through? I think about it and I go, I let it pass, because like, I literally go like that. Like, cause for me, that's how I was like trying to figure out my own way. And so even with good things, like here's the craziest thing, Jason, so we resist what we don't like, but you know what also causes problems in your life? Holding on to what you do. And I say that and people are always like, what do you mean? Okay, let me explain. Like, so you go to the beach and you see the best sunset you've ever seen in your life. You're like, oh my God, like this is the best sunset I've ever seen. I can't wait to come back and see this again. You hold on to it, right? So you're clinging. So you go to the beach the next year, the next month, whatever. And you're like, all right, sunset, let's go. And it's overcast. It might be beautiful in its own right, but it's not the sunset you saw before. And now you're let down. You go primal from something you like because the beach let you down now. Where the first time you went, if you just experience that, like, look at that, I can't wait to come back and see whatever's here next time. And you go back and it's overcast, and it's beautiful overcast because it's still over the ocean and the moon's out there and there's clouds and it's cool, but it's not the colorful one you saw last time. Now you're not let down. You're like, look at how cool. And then you experience that and move on until the next time. But when you cling on to stuff you like, it's never going to be the same the second time. So now you're let down by stuff you like, right? So clinging and resisting, and that I learned that's a form of surrender from Michael Singer. I don't know if you ever heard of Michael Singer, but he wrote the Surrender Experiment in the Untethered Soul. Like super deep books, but I highly recommend. It's where I learned how to surrender, because surrender isn't weakness, which is what I thought as a big, strong man, right? Like I'm like, I don't surrender, but surrender is alignment. When you understand surrender is alignment, it's how you get your body and mind in line with who you want to be, everything changes. And so, but learning that clinging onto stuff you like, I already knew I was resisting stuff I did, like that was easy, right? But like clinging onto stuff you like that's causing problems in your life, I was like, wait, what? And then once I really wrapped my head around the concept, like, oh, it makes perfect sense actually, because you're clinging onto stuff that is never going to be the same the second time. So you're setting yourself up for failure on stuff you like. You just got to experience everything. There's no good and bad. Just experience it, let it pass through, and move on to the next experience. When you're holding on to things and resisting things, those are causing imprints on your mind, and that's where all your problems are being caused. But if you just deal with looking at your bank account, looking at the bills, dealing with that stuff, even if you can't pay it right now, you still like putting it aside and not looking at it is making it worse, right? Like leaving that stuff on the forefront will help you create solutions when you're trying to look for solutions. But when you just put it away, say, I'm not going to look at that bill because I can't pay it. You're not going to try to create solutions because you're not even dealing with it. It's just like your subconscious, like, yep, this is something we don't deal with. But if it's right there in front of you, when you are willing to deal with it, suddenly the how starts creating itself, right? You start getting thoughts and ideas that can help you pay for that. Like maybe it's a side hustle, maybe it's a new business idea, maybe it's a different way to get a raise at your current job, whatever it is. When you're willing to deal with it and you're saying, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Like I'm going to look for the good. This is a bill I didn't expect. While it sucked and I let it suck for 30 seconds. Well, now I'm in solution mode. How can I figure out a way to pay for this that I didn't have before? And when you have that kind of mindset, when you have those kind of thoughts, you have new ideas that come that help you figure things out. But when you're not dealing with it, you're like, I can't, I don't have the money. Well, when you keep telling yourself, I don't, guess what happens? It helps you create that situation. You say, I don't have it. I can't afford it. Well, okay, you can't afford it, and I'll make sure that that's true. That's what your subconscious does to you. Even when it's things you say you don't like, when you're not focused on what you do like, because you're focused on what you don't. It gives you more of what you don't want because you're not focused on the positive. It's crazy, but I it was a 2-year journey. I expected it to be about a month, and I wasn't, I just had all my money taken away from that last business, so it's not like I was in a position to like chill for 2 years. But I went down the path I went down, I couldn't stop because I'm like, I was on a solution journey, and it was one after another. And it was, I went to probably 20 different teachers, and some resonated with me, some didn't. Some were like, I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. Some like, that's not stuff that is resonating with me. It's not working. And that's what the book is. Mindset Breakthrough is all the frameworks that worked for me to clear out the crap out of my head. And mine were primarily money. And so, but it doesn't matter what they are. Well, if yours aren't money, the frameworks are all the same. And so that's why, like, I have my biggest, like my toughest buddies are like texting me like, dude, I had no idea you knew this, and I didn't even know I needed it. Like they never would have read a book like this if it wasn't mine. Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, that's great. Go put that review on Amazon, brother, because that's like this text isn't helping me at all.
Yeah. No, nobody else sees this nice text you just sent me. So
yeah, right.
Please leave me a review. No, that's great. Well, Jim, you told me, you ask your clients, people you work with, what do they want? Well, I ask my guests, what is your why? So I will, I'll flip that question to you.
For sure.
What is your why? Let's. I know you've talked a lot about probably some themes, but I want to ask that specific question of you.
Why is very simple: to be a force for good in the world. I want to, with this business, I want to transform 10 million lives. I want to improve the lives of 10 million people. That's my goal. If it's just reading the book, if it's just, because the most powerful thing when I started teaching this is when I see, like, I'll be on a Zoom or in person at an event that I'm speaking at, and like somebody will come talk to me afterwards, and like I could see the light bulb, the light bulb went off, right? Like they had to shift. They saw something that they didn't see before, like what happened to me. And it's the most powerful thing. And so my sole purpose in life, my why, is to be a force for good in the world and always be looking at the positive and show people how to do that themselves. And it is the most powerful thing that I've ever done for me, because it's win-win, right? Like my goal is to help people see life in a positive light, where most of us are looking for the bad. So that's my why.
Yeah. I love it. Well, when people hear this and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out? How can they find you?
My website is the best way. You can go to mindsetbreakthrough.com or jimhuntzicker.com. I'm not on social media very much, and you guys shouldn't be either, unless you're using social media to make money. You shouldn't be on it more than once or twice a week for like 20 minutes. Part of your problem is you're scrolling for 2 hours. Like people have addiction issues like alcohol or drugs. Like, okay. But a lot of people don't do alcohol or drugs. Like, I don't have addiction issues, I'm fine. Yet they're scrolling for 3 hours a night, like addicted to their phone, or they're binge shopping or binge watching TV, Netflix or whatever. Like, those are addictions also. So don't think you're out of the fray. And when you're scrolling on social media, we know for a fact that it causes all kinds of anxiety, stress, fear, comparison. And it's somebody else's fake life. Like, you're comparing yourself to a fake life of somebody else, and you're feeling bad about yourself. Like, get off social media. Go to my website. Like, that's the best place to get a hold of me. I'm starting to have a bigger social media presence as this business grows. But I've stayed off of it mostly because I hate it. Like, I don't go on it myself at all. Like I'm on it maybe 10 minutes every couple of weeks. I'll check to see if there's a new message. And now I have an assistant I'm hiring that their whole thing is doing my social media checking, so I don't have to ever check it, because I don't It's not for me. Like I realize there's addictive, like they're like slot machines. Like they use the same technology as slot machines. Like it's a fact. We know that. So it's intentionally addictive. And like when I know that, I've had addiction issues in the past, right? Like I'm an addictive personality, right? I quit drinking, but I quit Vicodin, I quit Crate. Like I get addicted to stuff easily. So I don't need any help. And when I know that they got me, for me, it's like an off switch. I'm like, I'm out, because I know that they like their technology works with our subconscious, what our patterns are, and it automatically addicts you. So I'm not on social media. So you go to jimhuntzicker.com. That's the best place to get a hold of me.
Okay, awesome. We'll get that in the show notes. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for all that you shared. I think so much valuable insight and some very tactical take-home places for people to start, but ultimately such an important topic. So thank you again for sharing all that you did.
Yeah, it was great, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, please connect with Jim. Check out his website. Sounds like you won't really find him on social media, so a little different than some of our guests. But please like, rate, and review the show so we continue to get great guests. And as always, thank you so much for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?